Welcome to another video, turning back to the tanky and spanky jobs featuring the Dante to your personal raiding inferno, the Dark Knight. Before we start, note that all jobs can clear all content in this game, and you should always make your decision depending on the battle system, personal interest and looks of a certain job, because the balancing is on point in Final Fantasy XIV. So let us start with the Dark Knight's coolest trait, the fast-paced and very cooldown-heavy combat system. Unlike the Paladin, the Dark Knight uses MP outside of certain phases or windows for damaging attacks or utility, that can also be turned into the same damaging potential if used correctly. So you don't need to save all of it for a certain point in your rotation, far from it. The goal is to break down your MP as soon as possible, which results in a very cool and fast-paced, very action-driven combat. That is especially cool for content with low HP targets like world content, Eureka, boss jar, or anything where you only have 5 to 10 seconds time to smash in as much damage as possible. And in contrast to a summoner or machinist that are very fast with their combo build up as well, the Dark Knight is a tank, and one of the bulkiest in the game right now. That directly leads us to the second reason, featuring the best and most satisfying tank mechanic in game, namely the Blackest Knight. This shield, learned on level 70, not only is one of the strongest barriers this game has to offer, but using it correctly feels so satisfying because you need the same amount of MP to use it than you would need for your Edge or Flood of Shadow, being a very powerful offensive OGCDs. But as long as the shield is consumed entirely, you will get a free proc of those attacks, so you're actually being rewarded for playing keen and with a clear mind, making use of your strong defensive tools. Even if I think a 7 seconds duration is a bit short, this spell feels amazing when used against a tank buster or when something is hitting another party member where the shield is scaling with the target's HP, and with a life pool of close to 200k life, a tank can get very close to 50,000 absorption value, which is simply insane. And no other mitigation tool can come anywhere close to this. That of course turns the Dark Knight into a wonderful off tank where you can easily help your tanking mate to mitigate incoming damage and, like I said, when timed correctly, not lose any offensive value by doing that. Above that, with a short cooldown of 15 seconds, you can easily use this on cooldown when you're constantly getting hit or really want to help your healer to not waste much uptime on healing spells in dungeons, for example. Sometimes you can even do pulls when the healer is still AFK and don't have to fear defeat due to this powerful shield and your insane AOE damage. Oh man, that AOE damage is by far my most favorite among all tanks, because this MP energy style with a very rewarding and powerful Flood of Shadow, Salted Earth or Quietus spam in Delirium, or when going nuts completely summoning your living shadow that deals AOE damage as well, this is phenomenal. Yes, on paper other tanks may come close to the Dark Knight's dungeon and AOE power, but no one feels so cool and action driven like the Dark Knight. You may not be able to beat the versatility of a Paladin or the self-healing potential of a warrior, but even if that may be a personal opinion, all other tanks feel super flat in dungeons compared to the many tools and diverse combo actions you have as Dark Knight. Especially Abyssal Drain is one of my favorite AoE abilities, as it's converting your damage dealt to all enemies hit into healing, granting you a serious HPS in very big pulls, especially when combining it with the endurance factor of the Blackest Knight. If you're a dungeon crawler and want to do your expert runs in the most enjoyable way and with reasonable queuing times, become what you must. Become the Warrior of Darkness. But not only because of this, but the Dark Knight is definitely the most stylish tank around. Yeah, Gunbreaker, I know. Let's be honest, two-handed swords with darkness sipping through every animation, or all these enormous swings are definitely the coolest thing apart from big casting explosions. But this is not the final argument on the style department, as gear may be kinda very identical due to the role limitations. No other job has access to a shadow version of their sensei. So you should definitely consider playing the recent poster boy of Shadowbringers, and even a poster boy Paladin in Endwalker will not dethrone the Warrior of Darkness when it comes to style. Last but not least, I know this may not be a striking argument for everybody, but for everyone that is leveling a job for immersive gameplay and exploring the depth of this universe even more. The Dark Knight's job quest is my absolute favorite among all job quests. The meaning and doctrine that is narrated is only being topped by the cool and awesome characters that are being introduced. And let us be honest, the finale is just heartbreaking, and if that wasn't enough, the last moments of the quest line will open up wounds from parts of the main scenario quest that will never heal completely. But I don't want to spoil that content, so just give it a shot and experience the coolest job quest this game has to offer, in my opinion. But of course, all the darkness and quick attack sequences bring with a lot of teething troubles for some players, so let me tell you something about the downsides of the edgiest tank among tanks. First of all, the opener may be very fast and quick in its build up, and that can lead to a lot of confusion when being a fresh Final Fantasy starter. It is kind of the summoner among tanks when it comes to button presses, so you may be overwhelmed by all the dark fever taking over. Nonetheless, I think with a clear look at either my guides or the awesome Salted Final Fantasy XIV website, you won't run into any trouble of delivering a phenomenal performance tanking and spanking. And even for those players with very bad ping, you can look up alternative rotations and openers on Salted Final Fantasy XIV. When it comes to certain skills specifically, many players, me included, don't like the design of Living Dead, which is our oh shit button that is super strong when your healer has some experience with it. And both of them have communicated who is going to do the job, because when throwing up this effect upon a fatal hit, you become a Living Dead, rendering you immune to fatal damage for 10 seconds, but you also need to be healed up by 100% of your HP, which can be demanding in some scenarios, because when not receiving that 100%, you will die immediately. And I would love to have access to any method of doing this all by myself and not be so dependent on my healers taking their job seriously. I would love for Endwalker if they would add something, maybe working together with your MP or any of your HP reclaimer abilities that you're able to heal up by yourself. My best idea that would fit to the logic of the Blackest Night, that somehow a certain amount of damage needs to be thrown into this Living Dead window that would keep you from actually entering Living Dead, or yeah, becoming the living vampire, also turning all of your damage into healing received for the next 10 seconds. Yes, that sounds like a cool ability, doesn't it? In either way, I can only recommend to test out this awesome job, as it is one if not the coolest and most enjoyable tanks I have ever played, and the hype doesn't fade as long as you're always making sure to put up some awesome and evil battle music. And definitely play through some Devil May Cry titles to get a good impression how to handle this edgy two-handed sword in the best and most comfortable way. Sadly without having two handguns as a side weapon, but who knows what Yoshi-P is having for the Dark Knight in the future. Nonetheless, thanks a lot for hopping by and spending some time watching this video, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and become what you must. Become the Warrior of Darkness.